So today I was back in the theaters, and before I talk about the movie that I saw, I was walking into my auditorium. It was a double door system, so there was a door and another door. I open my door, one of the theater employees opens the other door, and we scare the bejesus out of each other. I looked like a little kid with a bowl of Cheerios, just my popcorn kind of spilled on the floor. She was like, oh, and I was like, oh, and we just had a good laugh. So it was an interesting moment. I've never had a moment like that in the theater. Scary, funny. It was a good time. So what did I go to see today? I went to the theater to see A24's latest Warfare. This is a film based on real life events. It's written by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland, also directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. And this film is touted to be something like a hyper-realistic retelling of the real life events that happened in November of 2006 in Ramadi, Iraq. This film stars the likes of Will Poulter, Kit Connor, Cosmo Jarvis, Michael Gandolfini, Joseph Quinn, Noah Centineo, DeFaro Woon-A-Tai. This film is said to be hyper-realistic because the script is based directly on the memories of the members of the SEAL team that were involved in this incident. Like I said, it's written by Alex Garland and a man named Ray Mendoza. And as I understand it, Ray Mendoza was somebody who was directly involved in this incident in Iraq in 2006. And so it's his experience, it's the experience of his teammates. It is essentially a minute-by-minute retelling of this one particular mission that went awry. So basically, a Navy SEAL surveillance team takes this house as kind of a strategic point of communications and intelligence. As they're getting settled into this strategic hold, they're sending, receiving information, and all of a sudden they get attacked by their enemy. So I'm not going to lie, I've definitely seen my fair share of gritty war movies that have made their impression on my mind, but this one in particular was very, very visceral, and I can't quite put my finger on what exactly made it so much more visceral than other war films I've seen. I think it may partially have to do with the fact that it was that minute-by-minute retelling of kind of this chaotic event. So you're basically with these guys as they're experiencing the fear, the pain, the chaos, trying to mitigate injuries, trying to mitigate risk. You just feel the weight of everybody's pain, everybody's confusion, and you can just imagine yourself in this situation being like, why in the world am I here? I just want to be out of this place. All the actors did a phenomenal job. I mean, this movie necessitates some pretty emotional performances, just conveying, shock, confusion. There's a couple guys that get really messed up in this movie, and they did a good job selling their pain and agony, basically. Will Poulter did a really good job of portraying somebody who essentially gets what I would describe as like shell-shocked. He's not so much severely physically wounded as he is just rocked by the explosions, the gunfire, the trauma of what's going on. He does a great job conveying that. Everybody does a really, really good job. So there's a couple things in addition to the really good acting that kind of sold the realisticness of the film to me. One of those was the attention to detail on their military kit. I'm not a military expert, so, I don't know how realistic or not realistic a lot of this is, but just from a layman's perspective, it looked like there was a lot of attention to detail. There's this scene where they are basically breaking down their position. They're going to move to a new position because their current position has been compromised, and they're getting together all their gear. Everyone's trying to account for, like their backpacks, their weapons, their various tools, communication equipment, and there's just, I don't know, it's probably like 4 or 5 minutes of them just getting together their kit, their gear, and trying to break it down, pack it up, and move on. Because it's true, if you're in a situation like that, you're going to want to make sure you have everything that you need with you. You're not going to want to be caught with your pants down, so to speak, and not have your essentials with you. Another thing that seemed to be pretty realistic to me, that seemed to ground the film, at least in my opinion, was their kind of military jargon when they're describing enemy positions and friendly positions, and when they're kind of mapping out their strategy for how they're going to do their maneuvers. That all seemed very realistic to me. It seemed like they had really good detail. From a directing standpoint, you could almost call this the texture of the film that just adds that much more life and realism to it. And this was indeed a pretty brutally graphic film too. So I mean, if you're bothered by blood and gore, this might not be the film for you. But at least in my view, it did a really good job of portraying the kinds of really horrific wounds that can be incurred by people in these situations. And Like I said, it was just it was a visceral film. It was probably one of the most immediately affecting war films that I've seen. I think this movie also did a good job of not trying to idealize anything. Sometimes in war films, especially, war films portraying the United States military and their exploits, you can have a certain amount of patriotism and nationalism, which makes sense, but it can maybe skew the perspective of the film a little bit if that is something that is really present in a film. I felt like they did a good job of keeping this film fairly grounded, fairly neutral as much as you can for a movie like this, and they certainly did not sugarcoat things, that is for sure. So as far as war films go, would I recommend this? Absolutely. If you're into war films, if you can handle intensity and gore, I would probably honestly give this movie a 4.5 out of 5. I really didn't have any critiques or anything that I felt was wrong with the movie. I think it was a very solidly crafted, very affecting movie. Thanks for hanging out with me for a few minutes. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you next time.